the interest of time, I'm going to skip through the other way to teach it new words, which is called Learn My Writing Style. Get this out of the way. Okay, what I just did very quickly is I just selected an RTF file. Now, the number one complaint we get about this is that people try to load in their Word files. We don't know, we can't parse out words formatted. Okay, we don't know how to do that. So, well, it's actually not that we don't know how, but there's so much of it that it just takes long. So we don't do that. So it has to be an RTF file or a plain text file. One little catch, if it's a Microsoft Word file, you can't save it as RTF because their RTF format is different than everybody else's. Oh, okay, so if it's in Word, you have to save it as text only. Or you can copy the text, paste it in a text edit, save it that way. All right? This is actually a chapter from a chemistry professor who she takes and she does a different profile for every class that she teaches. And then she adds only the words for that discipline of chemistry. And that way the accuracy is a little bit better for that. And this goes to why we don't provide medical vocabularies or legal vocabularies. If you add all of them at once, you add 10 to 15,000 words, and every doctor we've talked to says, I use about 1,000. Some say only 500. None of them say I use 10,000 words, medical terms. All right? So you're adding all these words you're never going to use, and that's going to pollute your ability to use the ones you do use. So you use Learn My Writing Style to pull all those words in. Okay? And I'm going to show you how you do that. You load it in, you hit Analyze, and it goes in and analyzes the file. And you can have as many files here as you want, so you can do as many as you want to do. And what I do is I say check none. Unless I know it's a very clean document, you're going to have these dashed words, you're going to have some acronyms in there that you're not going to want to teach it. But now you can go through and you can click on the words you want it to learn. Okay, don't want to click on the acronyms necessarily. So you can go through and click whatever words you want it to learn. And notice that it has the pronunciations over here. So I can actually go in there and if I know the phonetic alphabet, I can tweak it a little bit. I never do that. It seems to work fine for me. And then when I'm ready, when I'm done with all that, I just click the right arrow, and it actually goes through and adds all the words. Now, another really cool thing about this is it adds them in context. It learns the words in relation to the words around it. And so that way you get better recognition. Okay? The example I use, and I don't want to belabor this because we're running short on time, I want to give you guys a chance to answer questions. But what I have a made-up word called Frasniolator. Frasniolator is like widget in accounting. It means nothing, but it's not going to know it. And so in my demos, when people want to see this, I'll say, the Frasniolator jumped over the moon. All right? It doesn't know Frasniolator, but it learns it in that context. So if I then say, the Frasniolator jumped over the moon after teaching it, there's a very high likelihood, especially with a word like Frasniolator, which is long, like technical terms, it's going to get it right. But if I say, my Frasniolator is on the fritz, it may or may not get it right, because it's in a different context. But the more context I use it in, the more it starts bumping it up in its choice list, and it will start getting it right. Here's the way to know if iListen's learning, by the way, because we've had people that, I had a guy out at Mac Mall when we went out and did training for their staff out there, that he said, I've been trying for 3 months to get it to recognize my son's name, and it won't. I keep correcting it, and it won't. I said, what's your son's name? And he goes, Anselmo. Okay. I kept typing Anselmo or something else, right? And the problem is that it had so many vowel sounds in that name, there were so many other words or phrases in the 300,000 words that iListen knows, that it was taking a very long time to learn. And I said, you know what? You just got to keep correcting it, keep correcting it, keep correcting it. And eventually, even could take hundreds of corrections and something like that with all those vowels. But eventually, I said, if the choice list changes, and if what it types when you say it changes, it's learning. There's just so many choices above it on the list. It's always going to favor the stuff it knows, because it's going to assume those are more common. And eventually, so we talked to him a few months ago. It's been about 9 months since we were out there. And I said, how's it going? He says, yeah, it's getting it all the time now. Exactly. I just had to keep doing it. Had to keep training.
Could you decrease the learning curve if you would have said my son's name and then Alice Terminal?
Right, well, yes. I think I see what you're getting at. And it does learn in context and all that. The other thing, with the name of medications, we've told doctors that if they have, like there was a doctor recently that had, the name of the medication was Altase. I don't know what it is, but Altase was the name of the medication. He says, I cannot get it to learn it because it types all in case or all case or whatever. And I said, try, when you say it, try saying Altase med. So add med after every medication name, even the long ones, just get in the habit of doing that. And so in that what you see, what you say interface, what you see is Altase, what you say is Altase med. And by adding that third syllable, you're going to bump that right up to the top in terms of your recognition. So you use little tricks like that in your recognition to really help get it do a better job.